Winnipeg, a member of parliament is denying an accusation that she caused a disturbance, created confusion and was verbally abusive at an emergency shelter for forest fire evacuees last summer. A three-page complaint filed by the Canadian Red Cross to the federal government, and obtained by the Canadian press, says Liberal backbencher Marianne Mahaichik ignored protocol and the reality of the situation last Sept. 7, when she visited a Winnipeg shelter housing evacuees who had been flown in from the Garden Hill First Nation. Marianne Mahaichik said Thursday that she never acted out of line. Adrian Wild, the Canadian press file photo. Mahaichik verbally abused Red Cross volunteers and staff at the shelter and on the phone, using abusive and bullying language, the complaint alleges. For the evacuees, many of whom had just arrived from another shelter, the chaos and confusion caused by Mahaichik and Manitoba Liberal Legislature member Judy Clausen stirring up the evacuees and misleading them about hotel rooms, only caused to multiply the stress the evacuees are already under. In a statement, Clausen said she was trying to get residents what they needed. Article continued. Bella Mahaichik said Thursday she never acted out of line. I find the accusations surprising, actually, and inaccurate, she said. I will always stand up for people who are in trouble and victimized, and that was the circumstance of the Indigenous evacuees. The shelter visit occurred at the height of a large evacuation effort involving more than 4,000 people from 3 Aboriginal communities: Garden Hill, Wissahickon and Street. Teresa Point, roughly 500 kilometers north of Winnipeg. City hotel rooms were already filled with tourists, as well as hundreds of evacuees from another fire, so 2 emergency shelters were set up, one in a convention center and one at a soccer complex. First Nations leaders complained the shelters were no place for the sick, elderly or for people with young children. There were rows of cots in large open areas. It was a struggle to share amenities or have any privacy, and people got sick from being in such close quarters. Many of the evacuees marched in protest to the Manitoba legislature September 7 to demand hotel rooms. Mahaichik became verbally abusive during a phone call, the Red Cross complaint says, and decided that some evacuees at the soccer complex should be taken immediately to a hotel in Selkirk, Man. The Red Cross had access to some rooms there, but Garden Hill leaders said they did not want to go. Article continued below. Mahaichik then stated, Selkirk is a nice place with a Walmart, and that she will be taking the lead to go around the shelter and load them up and ship them out. Red Cross Senior Disaster Manager Kaylin Hodder aggressively identified that she was not to make a move without consultation with the community. The complaint says, the Red Cross team asked Mahaichik to cease until further notice and contacted Red Cross VP. From Manitoba and Nunavut, Sean Feely. Some 90 minutes later, there was another phone call. Hodder received a call from Mahaichik, who stated she had selected people. They are standing outside waiting for a bus. The evacuees should not have been left out in the cold. A few minutes later, Hodder arrived at the shelter and Mahaichik had left. The complaint says, upon arrival, it was discovered that 40 to 50 people were standing outside in the cold with garbage bags of items they rushed to pack up. While Mahaichik said she had not heard of the complaint until Thursday, Federal Indigenous Services Minister Jane Philpott's office said Mahaichik had been told, it is our expectation that departmental and elected officials maintain the highest level of professionalism in dealing with such sensitive situations. In this circumstance, a report was received from the Red Cross about a visit to the evacuation center in early September. The concerns raised in the report were addressed directly with a member. Philpott's press secretary, Rachel Rappaport, wrote in an email. Mahaichik said she never told people to wait outside in the cold, and that her interactions with the Red Cross team did not cross a line. I asserted that this was a completely unacceptable situation, and I'm not going to deny that I was insistent and Assertive, Clausen said she worked with Mihajcic to help Garden Hill residents. We let the evacuees know that there were in fact hotel rooms available outside of Winnipeg, and they asked us to help them get them into those rooms, Clausen said in a written statement. Mark Barkman, Director of Operations for Garden Hill First Nation, said he did not remember interacting with Mihajcic but recalled Clausen helping to eventually get people into hotel rooms. She was right there, helping the First Nations people, Mihajcic, who represent the Kildonan Street. Paul Riding, chairs the House of Commons Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs, which released a report this week calling for improvements to fire emergency management. The report calls for better communication between governments and better telecommunications infrastructure in remote communities.